everyone, and welcome back to Study English with Gia, the podcast where we make learning English easy, practical, and part of your daily life. I'm Gia, and today we have some amazing guests with us. They're experienced English teachers who have helped countless students build fluency and confidence by training their minds to think directly in English, not just translate word by word. So get ready to pick up real tips you can use right away. Let's dive in and learn how to make English a natural part of your thoughts. Welcome to the show.
You know that feeling, right? You've put in the hours, you've learned the grammar, you've got stacks of vocabulary flashcards. But then when you actually try to speak English, it's like wading through treacle. The words feel like they're in there somewhere, but they just don't flow. What if I told you the real shortcut, the key to sounding truly natural isn't just more memorizing? It's something different, a shift in how your brain actually works with the language.
It really is. The core idea is training your brain to stop translating. Just stop. Think directly in English. So many learners get caught in that mental loop,
Yeah.
thinking in their native language, translating, then speaking. And that's exactly why responses can be slow, maybe a bit awkward sometimes.
That makes sense. It's like a delay.
Exactly. When you start thinking in English, you're building direct connections, pathways within the language itself. It means faster responses, understanding feels easier, and honestly, your confidence just grows. And look, this isn't some, magic trick for language geniuses. It's a skill. Anyone can build it. It just takes daily, deliberate practice.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. We're talking about that habit, that frustration of translating word for word in your head.
Yes.
It's like running this clunky translation software in the background, and it slows everything down, doesn't it? Makes your speech sound less smooth.
Precisely. And the impact is pretty profound. When you make that shift, thinking directly in English, your brain starts actually forming the ideas, the sentences, right there in English. It's not just a mental trick. You're genuinely rewiring how you process the language.
Right. Pruning those old translation habits.
Exactly. And the result, you respond quicker in conversations, you hesitate less, your speaking just becomes smoother over time, making it a daily mental exercise. That's where you see the big results.
Okay, so if the goal is this kind of mental rewiring, how do you even start? It sounds, maybe a bit daunting. You suggested starting really small, though, just with single words.
Mm-hmm.
Encouraging listeners to just look around right now and internally name things in English, like chair, table, phone, book.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
It genuinely is that simple to begin. The great thing about this first step is it builds a really strong direct link. Your environment and English vocabulary. Words start to come to mind more automatically. You're not searching as much.
Bypassing the translation search?
Right. And once nouns feel okay, maybe add some verbs. You see someone moving. Think walking or running, talking. It's about building that solid foundation, associating concepts directly with the English words.
That makes a lot of sense, building those direct connections. And you mentioned a very practical kind of clever trick to reinforce this, turning your space into a learning tool.
Yes, the labeling method. It's almost deceptively simple. You just write the English word on the sticky note. Mirror goes on the mirror, door on the door, refrigerator on the fridge.
So your whole house becomes flashcards.
Pretty much. It turns your living space into this immersive learning zone. It works especially well if you're a visual learner. You get that instant recall every time you glance at something. It just embeds the vocabulary using environmental cues.
Okay, here's where it gets, I think, really interesting and maybe where people stumble. What happens when you're trying to think in English? You're doing okay, and then boom, you hit a word you just don't know. The instinct must be to just switch back to your own language, right?
Yeah.
Give up on the English thought.
Yeah, that's a critical moment. And my advice is try really hard not to switch back. Instead, practice describing that word you don't know, but describe it in English.
Okay, how does that work?
So if you forget microwave, maybe you think, the machine that heats food fast.
Mm-hmm.
Or use phrases like, it's similar to, or it's something you use for.
Oh, so you're navigating around the gap.
Exactly. It trains your brain to find solutions within English. It builds flexibility, creativity, which is, incredibly useful in real conversations because you won't always have the perfect word instantly. It forces you to think in the language to solve the problem.
That's a powerful skill. So once you're getting comfortable with words, mentally labeling things, maybe even describing unknowns, how do you level up to actual thoughts? I guess the next step is thinking in simple sentences.
Precisely. Start narrating things internally. You're outside. Think, it's sunny today, or I see a red car. Describe how you feel. I am tired. I'm happy now. And look, the goal at first isn't perfect grammar. Not at all. It's about getting the thoughts flowing naturally.
Naturalness first.
Yes. Then, as it gets easier, you can challenge yourself. Make the sentences a bit longer. Maybe imagine little stories or describe scenes around you in more detail. It gradually prepares you for, more complex conversations.
That feels like a really natural progression. So how can listeners weave this into their day, make it feel less like homework and more just part of life?
That's key. A great way is to describe your daily activities as you do them or as you plan them, all in your head, in English. So in the morning, maybe you think, okay, I wake up at 7, then I brush my teeth, I make some breakfast.
Narrating your routine.
Exactly. Or for later, after work, I think I will cook dinner and maybe watch a movie. This isn't just vocab practice. You're naturally using different verb tenses, integrating English into your actual thoughts about your day. It connects the practice to your real life.
Okay, that makes sense for internal practice.
Yeah.
But what about preparing for actual, talking to people? How do you practice for those real interactions?
That's where mental rehearsal is so powerful. You imagine full conversations. You can literally pretend you're talking to someone, ask yourself a question, and then answer it in your mind.
Like a silent role play.
Sort of. Imagine a friend asking, so what did you do yesterday? Then practice your answer. Well, yesterday I went to the park and I read a book for a while. Practice common questions, things you get asked at work or school or just by friends. It trains your brain for faster responses when those situations actually happen. You can do it silently or even whisper it out loud if you're alone. It builds those conversational reflexes.
So you're doing all this, the labeling, the sentences, the mental chats. What happens when you inevitably stumble on new words you don't know during these exercises? That must happen all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And you shouldn't let it stop you. When that happens, I strongly recommend keeping a small notebook handy. Or just use a Notes app on your phone.
Okay.
Look those new words up. And if you can, try using an English-to-English dictionary. It keeps you immersed. Aim maybe for 5 to 10 new words a day. But crucially, don't just write the word. Add a short example sentence. Context is everything.
Right, so you know how to use it.
Exactly. And then this is important. Review them regularly. Maybe use spaced repetition. It helps keep them fresh. It connects that new vocabulary to real situations, makes it active, usable, part of your internal English toolkit.
These are all fantastic practical techniques. Labeling, describing, mental chats, notebooks. But there's got to be one thing that, ties it all together. The ultimate secret to making this approach really stick and lead to fluency.
You're right, there is. And it's probably not that secret. It's consistency.
The hard part.
Well, yes and no. It's not about needing huge chunks of time. It's about doing it every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The trick is to weave it into those small moments you already have. When you first wake up, walking somewhere, waiting for the bus.
Use the downtime.
Exactly. Use that downtime. Repeat the exercises, naming things, making sentences, imagining those conversations. Over time, your brain just adapts. It learns to use English more naturally, more automatically. When thinking in English becomes a habit, a real habit, that's when you'll notice you speak faster, you understand more easily, and you just feel so much more confident. It's that consistent, small effort that truly unlocks it.
Wow, what a deep dive today. It really feels like the core message is that mastering a language, getting truly fluent, goes way beyond just learning rules, training your mind to think directly in English. It's like installing a new operating system, isn't it? Building that authentic fluency from the inside out.
It really is like that. And look, this journey, it does take patience. It takes effort and building those smart habits we talked about. So start small, be incredibly consistent, and please don't worry about making mistakes. They're just part of the process.
Part of the rewiring.
Exactly. Little by little, you'll find English just becomes a natural part of how you think every day. Your speech will start to flow more easily than you might imagine right now, and you'll feel so much more ready, more confident to connect with the world. So keep practicing, keep at it, and honestly, enjoy the progress you're going to make. It can be pretty amazing.
If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend who's also learning English. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode full of simple tips to help you build your English habits, one tiny step at a time. Until next time, keep practicing, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. Bye for now.